My number one fear in college is that I would get kidnapped into human trafficking, that my captives would inject me with heroin against my will, and I would be forced to be addicted. In the moment, even though you have perfect self-awareness, there are certain things that you just do not have control over.
You ripped at every edge, but you're a masterpiece. And now you're tearing through the pages and the ink.
Hey guys, it's Lizzie. So this is another video about bipolar disorder, and a lot of people requested that I make it. I've never seen it described like this in books I've read about it, YouTube videos, even when my psychiatrist and therapist, when we've been talking through it, no one has described it as an addiction. I was journaling 2 weeks ago during church, and the way I describe bipolar is hell and addiction, just like a cycle. Depression is hell, not in a painful way, but just because it's nothingness, like it's barely existing, transient. And mania is amazing, but then you crash into depression. And kind of a disclaimer, I'm not trying to be a role model in this. I know I give advice in my videos, and with every other topic I do want to be a role model, but I'm brand new to this. I've only been diagnosed for a year, and I feel like I've had no guidance in dealing with it. I had to diagnose myself. I had to fight for my diagnosis. I've had to do a lot of research for my medicines, for figuring out the side effects of my medicines. Everything with how to treat it, sleep cycle has been on me.
Now I'm covered in the colors, pull apart at the seams, and it's blue.
So I've been manic this entire year so far, and it's been a little bit exhausting, but it's also amazing because I'm so happy, I'm content. I'm completely content with who I am for the first time in maybe a year, which is kind of the crux of this entire video. I love being manic, I need to be manic, and I feel like I'm not me when I'm not manic. So I was 100% treatment compliant when I was in depression. I was always taking my medicine, taking as much medicine as I needed, listening to my psychiatrist. Sometimes I would even increase my dosages on my own of my antidepressants because I was willing to medicate as much as possible to get my brain balanced. But it is like insane because 3 or 4 weeks into my medicine working, last May, I just started going off all of my medicine. It's like this hidden, like undercover instinct, and I feel like it is this epic self-deception for why I've never gone back to the same psychiatrist, why I want to be on like a minimal dose of my medicine, why it's okay for me to be manic. And it sucks too because whenever I film, I go more manic because my YouTube personality is slightly manic, and who I am around my friends is slightly manic. The whole time I was in depression, I would fake manic. And before I was even in major depression, like looking back years before that, when I was probably in a slight depression, I was faking the manic. It's just become ingrained into how I am, and so trying to strip that away and come up with another personality is just this unrecognizable person who I don't want to be. What's been happening the past few months is I'll crash down from a manic episode and I will cry and feel so awful and defeated and be 100% committed to going on another mood stabilizer, getting more medicated, making sure the mania never happens again. But then I go manic again, and a lot of times it's not even me trying to go manic, it's just like the nature of the illness, like tiny changes in your sleep schedule, in how you're eating, in your exercise routine, random life stresses will cause me to go manic. With other addictions, like if you're addicted to a drug or alcohol, you can get it away from you. You can avoid going to functions where that drug is. You can not be around friends who drink a lot. You can get away from it physically. There are rehab centers to go to who will help you get unaddicted. But with mania, it's within your brain. Even if I never ever tried to go manic, my brain will go manic. Even if I'm on the best medicine, completely balanced, not at all hypomanic ever, something tiny will change in my brain and it will force me to go manic. And so it's just like this addiction that is like injecting itself into me. When I was growing up, this is like kind of dark, but my number one fear in college is that I would get kidnapped into human trafficking, so sex slavery, but not the being raped part, but that my captives would inject me with heroin against my will and I would be forced to be addicted. This was a fear I had for probably 3 years before being diagnosed, and it's so awful because that's what has happened. And obviously mania isn't as bad as heroin, but it causes brain damage and it's really dangerous. I want to read a quote from Kay Redfield Jamison. She's one of the top specialists on bipolar disorder in the country, and she also has bipolar disorder, which I think is really important. I found this quote the other day, and I think it's one of the reasons I'm making this now. There is a reluctance in some people to take medication, and again, all the more reason for psychotherapy, because the illness may be a medical one, but the treatment is a psychological one. You have to be persuasive. You have to be able to convince someone who's young that A, they have an illness that's going to come back if they don't treat it, and B, that there is real damage potentially to the brain if they don't do this. That they could die by suicide, drug overdose, or alcoholism, and then that basically it's a very destructive disease. And you have to convince them of this in the midst of their feeling better than they've ever felt in their life. It's not an easy thing to do, and I don't know any therapist on the planet who's treated bipolar illness who would say that's an easy thing to do. It's a serious disease and it can well kill them, and each manic episode takes a hit on your brain. Every depressive episode takes a hit on your brain. And I think I realized why self-medication is such a thing in bipolar. The reason people use alcohol and drugs to self-medicate is because you're in so much control and it's immediate, like it works immediately. And it's so twisted because it's this extreme desire to have control over what's happening. But then when you get all that control, you're giving it away to mania. Psychologically, it's like you're intertwined with mania. It's like you were born with this addiction thing in your brain. I am really, really productive artistically when I'm manic. I will just edit for like 15 hours at a time. I can write out thousands of words in one sitting in an hour. It's this extreme creativity, this extreme spirituality. I'm very confident social. I know how to make people feel special in a way that I cannot if I wasn't manic. It is access to parts of your brain that you otherwise would not get to see into. And I think it is selfish too. It's not loving towards other people. It's really hard for me to give emotional support, to want to spend time with my friends. I feel like I don't need people when I'm manic. I just want to be by myself, working constantly. And sometimes too, I do want to be around people and I'm a really fun friend, really affirming of people. But when I get like really manic, not just hypomanic, I just want to completely isolate myself and almost see my brain as a means to an end of producing writing. And my brain body is almost just like a vessel for the mania to be in, to produce things, to be creative. It's like I'm completely viewing myself as a means to an end. And with depression, I always think of it as autopilot, as you're not really in control. You're not fully living, not fully there, not making decisions of your own volition, so not in control. And I realized yesterday when I was thinking about this more that it's the same thing in mania. You're not in control. Your brain is just doing whatever it wants to do so fast, and you can be subtly, like subliminally aware of what's happening. And if you're doing something that you don't want to do, like last night, online shopping impulsively, I knew I was buying things that I didn't need to buy because I was manic. And it's like you can tell yourself that in the moment, but it doesn't change what you do. On Instagram yesterday, I was debating with someone in the comments, and one of you was shocked and said, "Wow, I've looked up to you for so long. I cannot believe you're being like that." And it was because I was manic. And so it's like in the moment, I know I'm being so intense, angry, but it still will have this negative hold on me. It is just that in the moment, even though you have perfect self-awareness, there are certain things that you just do not have control over. But the main thing is just that it's me. I only feel like me when I am hypomanic, and it really scares me that probably never again I'm going to be like how I was in college, where I was hypomanic most of the time, all the time, for years. That was how I got to know myself, and that's why last year I felt murdered. I felt like all my concept of self had just been destroyed because your reality was wrong, that you were deluded, that everything, that a lot of what you were thinking, being, feeling was because of mania. And so it's like, of course I'm gonna keep going back to that, because without completely balanced on medicine, yeah, it's a peaceful person, it might be healthier for me and the people around me, but it's not a recognizable self. But even for people around me, I feel like my friends, my family, even you guys, I get complaints in comments when I'm too calm in the video. Like when I'm just being my medicated, normal self, people think I'm boring. They think something's wrong with me. And it's like heartbreaking to me because I want this all the time. I want this for myself, and it's not good. It's dangerous, and the brain damage is real. And I don't even know the extent of it. I don't think they know the extent of it, but it's overworking yourself. It's like every day feels like a week. There are so many epiphanies. It's like understanding all these connections in the world in a way that other people cannot. Everything is just going so fast, and it's like this ride, this racing, and it's amazing, but it's hurting myself. It damages things, and I know with the depression, I think some of the brain damage is permanent. You're decreasing your intellect a little less than a year, and I think my brain is finally like back to working order from the depression. But then it's like I'm continuing to damage it by wanting to be manic. And I do think that with some of the literature I've read, it's almost like this over-identification where once you're diagnosed, everything about your personality is considered manic. And I do not think it's as black and white as that. I think that it's not always wrong, dangerous to be hypomanic. Maybe that is my true self, my best self, and it is okay to want that and to be that. But then the problem is my brain doesn't know how to stop. I don't know, it's really complex and difficult to understand what's right, what's wrong, and I think the worst part is that I really cannot trust any mental health specialist who is not bipolar, anyone in my life who is not bipolar, because I feel like they do not understand, they don't get it, how closely it is tied to your personality, yourself, everything you know. My therapist asked me a few sessions ago who I would be if I wasn't bipolar, and I told her I wouldn't be because it's intertwined with every aspect of myself. And I think some types of bipolar, it's not like that at all. It's really clear cut. But just I think there are some where it's very closely tied to who you are and you feel like normal when you're manic. And then there are other types of mania that are just anger, manipulation, and a really negative experience. So I don't think this is an advice video. I don't think I want advice either. I just want to share my experience because I know the most comforting thing when I was first diagnosed was watching videos, reading blog posts, being able to feel understood, to know that other people are having such a similar experience that I am. I'm also starting to post a lot about this on my website, LizziesAnswers.com. I write about this stuff like all the time. Maybe I'll write a book or something, but I feel like I have so much to say, and especially when I'm manic, I just will write like thousands of words in one night. I love you guys so much. If you're still watching, comment below your favorite musical album of all time. And you can also say your favorite songs if you feel like you have several favorite songs and it's not within one album. But tell me your favorite music and why you love it the most. And I absolutely love music and analyzing lyrics, so I will for sure look up everything that I read. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!